Name is Drew Garrison. I am a Arkansas native from Little Rock, Arkansas. Got into hunting at a younger age. My father was a police officer, very busy man. So his two brothers, my Uncle Derek and my Uncle Greg, got me into hunting at a younger age, tried to take me out and mentor me. Mostly deer hunting. I did a little bit of rabbit hunting with my Uncle Derek. And then as I got older, more of a college age, my friend Chris Harrell kind of got me into a little bit more serious hunting on a more regular basis, especially being in college and away from family. So he and I were really good buds, but he would take me hunting a lot with his family and a buddy of mine named Jaron Henderson. So those two that aren't really part of the family, I guess you could say, my really good friends of mine, are the ones that got me into hunting and got me comfortable with doing all sorts of different hunting, from bow to rifle to duck hunting, bird hunting, all that good stuff. I mean, yeah. So when it comes to like a mentor, um, I would have to say Chris, my buddy Chris, mostly because we spent more time together out in the field. Um, Taught me all kinds of stuff. I got to witness a lot of things with him as far as um, watching wild game, long sits in the deer stand, hunting different ways on public and private land. Um, I wish I still had the video, but there was one time we were hunting together and I got to watch these two bucks kind of spar with each other. And that's pretty cool to see. You always see it on TV or see it on a TV show, and you always wish that, that happened to you in the wild, and it finally did. And I was probably 22, 23 years old when that happened, but I'll never forget that moment. He's like, because they snuck up on us. I think I was going to stand up out of the stand and go use the restroom, and all of a sudden I see these two little bucks sitting there. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, get down. So we're sitting there and they start, headbutting a bunch. And he's like, look at that. It was pretty cool. So it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I'll never forget this one. That was out and on some private land that I got to hunt with him, and pretty cool experience. But yeah, Chris has taught me a lot with duck hunting and deer hunting and all kinds. And he's always there. If something happens, I can always text him and he'll get me out of a pickle if I need to, or tell me what I need to go do. But have a good time hunting with him, and hunt with him probably 25 years now. So I'm not very technical. I'm not very. I'm pretty basic, dude. I don't have a deer stand. I don't have a saddle. I normally go to an area that I'm familiar with, either that or a place that I've scouted, look for, rubs and scrapes, deer poop, all kinds of sign, right? And then I normally look for like game trails or where they travel, and I try to sit 30, 40 yards off that and watch. I'm not anti, deer stand. I just don't have any land to put one on. And I'm a barber by trade, so my schedule's pretty busy. So I don't get that much time to go out and really work land and put sands up and all that good stuff. So mostly it's a weekend warrior, I guess you could say, when I got time from behind the chair and my son's not playing sports. So I kind of go and get let loose on some private ground or some public ground and go out there and look. And thank God for Onyx, because now I can scout from the house too, right? So it kind of gives me a general idea of where to go. And then when I get in that area, I tend to scout looking for sign, and I like to sit up on blowdowns, like trees that have blown down. I like to find a spot on those mostly. Sometimes they provide really great cover and wind blockage, and I will sit up on those and just kind of watch. And it's amazing after 30 minutes of sitting still what happens when that forest comes to life. It's pretty cool. But every now and then I'll sit in a stand, but for the most part, I like to be mobile, agile, and hostile, is what my buddy would say. Just like I like to move. I get real bored, and that's why I always think I'd be good at Western hunting, because it's spot and stalk. You can't really spot and stalk a whitetail in 50 acres of woods with leaves everywhere, but I do like to move around, and it keeps me entertained. Because I think when you're scrolling on your phone on Instagram, you miss a lot, especially when you get bored. So I like to sit a place for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, and then if I'm not seeing anything, I'll kind of slip around, just see what happens. But that's kind of how I approach it to that, go from there. Patience, in my opinion, is patience. So for me, it seems such a good idea when you see game out in the field. Say, for instance, like I was just saying, seeing those deer coming in from 100 yards away, and part of you, when they slip past you, you're like, well, I'll never see another deer for the rest of the trip. It makes you want to go, like, just run out in that area and just, sit there as close as you can. And instead of waiting it out and see if it's coming to you, you get impatient. And I had to deal with that a lot. I was that guy that would, like, as soon as you see it, I'd get up and start moving towards it when you need to sit there and wait for it to come to you. And so it's patience and reading learning how to play the wind. That was one thing I never understood. I used to buy the whole gimmick of, I got to wear these special technical clothing that blocks my scent and wash with unscented, deer wash. And when in all reality, dudes wearing buffalo plaid, smoking Marlboros were killing big bucks too. So it's all about playing the wind. And I mean, obviously it's about being out there. The more chances you are out there, the better off your kill rate will be. But yeah, learning to play that wind and learning patience was one of my hardest things, because I'm like I said, I like to move and like to go around. I'm easily, my patience, especially in the alone out in the woods, you get bored. And so it's easy for us to grab our phones, just kind of scroll Instagram a little bit, put that phone away and just sit there and watch and wait. And the slightest movements are normally some of your greatest rewards. When you see that happen, you're like, okay, there it is. And then you can start moving in towards it if you need to. That's a good one. My favorite aspect of hunting, let's see. One, being out there by myself sometimes is really nice. Being in a busy work environment, being outside, even if it's like with a couple of your buds, like being there with that like small group, a chance to recharge. But as far as like the aspect of it is one, the challenge. Two, obviously the reward. But one of my favorite things to do now is that I've gotten older and learned that skill is processing my own game. Used to, it'd be easy just to get it and immediately take it to a processor. Not even knowing how to gut a deer. Or for me, it's being able to kill that deer or that duck, field dress the deer, and then take it home and cut the meat the way I want to. Not relying on somebody else. So I guess self-reliance is a really nice one, because I mean, it's all fun until you pull that trigger, and then that's when the real work starts. And some people get turned off by that, and that's not for me. That's like, when it happens, it's like, great, here we go. Like, we could go up there and do work, and the skills that we've acquired and we've learned along the way. Like I said, I didn't have anybody just come up to me one day and just teach me how to gut a deer. Like, I watched YouTube videos, or I would talk to my friends, and they'd be like, here, this is how we do it. And it's trial and error over and over and over, to the point you get it to the point where you just know how to do it. And I'm still learning different ways. Like, we were at deer camp not too long ago, and there's 4 or 5 different guys there. We're all got deer, and some guys are doing it the gutless way, and some guys are doing it where they skin the whole thing. Some guys are totally deboning it. Like, it was pretty cool. And just learning those aspects of different ways to do it, because everybody thinks they got their own plan. You see somebody else, they're like, that was a little bit fast, let me try that way. And so you kind of like mold into your own style. So that's one of those things I like a lot about that. So I got gypped by a processor on my biggest buck, the biggest buck I ever killed. And I took it to a processor, and I got back, it felt like 10 pounds of meat, maybe, if even that. And that deer was 200 plus pounds, and I got less than 10 pounds of meat back. And come to find out, that processor got shut down that year, after that year, because a lot of people got, minimal meat back. And after that moment, I was like, I'm never gonna rely on somebody else. Like, if a friend of mine that I know personally does it, then I'll let them go ahead and do it. But I take mine home. I take the time, and I get real skillful with it. I cut silver skin, all that good stuff off of it, and just make really nice cuts. But knowing that I did it, it's a lot more, makes me feel better, especially for my family too. So, but yeah. My favorite game is duck. I enjoy duck hunting, and I'm a delayed onset, duck hunter. My dad was a police officer, and so in Little Rock, but he worked enough hunting accidents with duck hunters that he really kept me away from that, and always kept me scared of going out there and my wader's filling up with water and I'm drowning. I can't, I won't make it. So I'm a delayed onset duck hunter, and like I said, my friend Chris and my friend Jaron are the two guys that got me out there with them and showed a lot of patience with me on all the questions I had to ask. But the second I went out there and started shooting ducks, and like I said, as much as I enjoy deer hunting, duck hunting is so fun because you get to sit there with your buddies, watch the sunrise in the morning, you get to talk, you can be communicative, you can eat freaking Pop-Tarts because ducks can't smell you. They can see you, but it's fun because when you're sitting there watching those decoys and that call's going, you're watching that dog get excited and you keep your head down. As soon as they say, kill them, it's just a free-for-all. And for me, seeing that and watching that is some of my favorite times hunting because one, it's kind of teamwork. Two, you're able to communicate with your buddies, and it keeps, like I said, it keeps me, I love it. I could be out there all day and watch from sun up to sundown if I could. Duck hunting, that's where I've had my most amazing moments. And then I would say second to that, I got to go bear hunting for the first time this past season. A bunch of guys from Arkansas BHA, Rick Spicer and Brad Green, both had me on their properties to come try my hand at bear hunting, and I got to see a bear for the first time in the wild, and that was a truly magical moment. Like, you hear about it, you hear about all these guys that bear hunt, and it's like, okay, cool, I never really had that desire. And then I had bear meat for the first time, and I had some bear grease too, and that's when I was like, okay, like this is pretty good. And then I went out, and after I saw it in the wild, I was like, wow, that was pretty incredible. Like that true buck fever feeling. You start kind of shaking a little bit, the tunnel vision hit. I was like, whoa, this is incredible. And I got to watch this. It was a mom and a cub, and obviously wasn't going to shoot that, but seeing them out there and watching for 20 minutes, just how they, everybody has so many different versions, of how a bear is in the wild, and you always hear different stories. It's like everybody tells you a tornado sounds like a train coming through, and it's like, it sounds like a semi-truck. And it's like, when somebody explains to you what a bear is like, it's like, it's like a dog. It's, you don't want to shoot it. I watch these bears sit out there and eat donuts and all that. We were on a bait site, but watching them sit there and interact with each other. I mean, I still wanted to kill one, but I wasn't gonna kill a mom and a cub. But I was sitting there watching that, like, this is pretty magical. And it was a beautiful setting, obviously. And then, you're up in kind of the Mount Ozark area. It's a very nice mountainous area. And so watching that was pretty magical. But ducks still take the freaking cake. A little bit. So my dream hunt is a bison hunt. Ever since I was a kid, I've been called Buffalo Drew. That's what I wanted for my birthday one year, was a buffalo, and they're like, what the heck? And so I got the nickname Buffalo Drew all through school. I even got one tattooed on my hand. Every time I see a bison, I just remind of the greatest comeback story ever, of almost hunted to extinction and making a comeback, and to come back to the point where we can actually hunt them again. And not only do they taste amazing, but for me, it's more of a, I'm not gonna say spiritual thing. There's a connection for some reason when I see a bison, something in me changes. And I'm sure my friends that on Instagram, they probably get tired of all my bison photos I post, but I do post a lot. And I had the chance to go witness some wild bison out in Jackson, Wyoming a couple of years ago. And that only solidified my love for it and the mystique that they have. And it's crazy because when I think of bison, you always kind of think of this, like, for me, I kind of think of this like foggy mountainous area. And the day that we went to go see them in the Tetons, it was a foggy day and the Tetons in the background. I'm like, okay, this is for me. Like, I kept wondering, I was like, man, I wish I could find a way to go hunt one of these things. And the guy was like, there's actually a hunting season that you can actually hunt in Teton National Park, but it's only mule deer. So I'm like, oh, dang, okay. But that would be probably the ultimate one would be the bison. This year, I turned 40 this year, 2024, and I've set myself I've set aside some cash. I'm gonna try to do a bow elk hunt in Colorado. There's a couple barbers and a guy in Fayetteville that I know that owns City Supply, Chase and Ike from Old Wolf Barbershop. We've been talking a lot about getting together. Last year, 2023, I had to miss it. I couldn't do it. It was too short notice for me. But I told him I promised him 2024 I'd do it. It's my 40th birthday, and I'm gonna go out there and try to get it done. So that's one of my bigger goals, is to get an elk done. Also, I would like to. I'm gonna tell you the points, learning points for different states. Scott Knight from Arkansas BHA, he's really good at that point stuff. He understands it. He can tell you what points you get for this and that, and where to buy preference points at. That's one thing I want to learn, like try to understand a little bit more so I can start kind of spreading my wings and going out west. But for this year, 2024 is get that elk, and also to spend, my son, he's 8, he'll be 9. He's been deer hunting. He's shot 2 deer in his lifetime, but I want to get him out there on a duck hunt. So working with him, we already talked this spring about shooting sporting clays and learning how to shoot a moving target. Gun safety for him, obviously, he understands it, but being aware of where you're at. So yeah, so 2024 is going to get that elk down, hopefully not eating tag soup, and then taking my son Odin out duck hunting, and because he loves when I bring home the ducks. He wants to play with them and look at them, and when I butcher them, he likes to look on the insides of them, because we keep the hearts, the livers, the gizzards, and the breasts. And every now and then when I'm feeling froggy, I'll do duck legs like chicken wings. But yeah, he really enjoys that. He's showing a lot of interest in duck hunting. He loves the call, and it sounds crazy when he does it, but he thinks it's cool. So just to have him out there with me would be cool. And yeah, that's and maybe get some more hunts in with my family. My uncle and my 2 cousins live in Little Rock. They're some hunting fools, and they get after it. And they're always, I wish you were here, but 3.5 hours away. But carving out some time to go do that a little bit more, connect with family again. That's kind of my thing. So first time. That's a good question, because my brother-in-law just last weekend has asked me. He's never been deer hunting. And I think asking somebody else for the first time is very intimidating, because you don't want to look stupid. And a lot of us don't ask questions because we feel like we're going to look stupid, which I think is terrible, because I ask some dumb questions and I don't care. I just ask whatever questions I can think of so I have a better understanding of it. But he was very kind of hinting around it, and I was finally just like, man, let's talk, like come over. So he came to the house, we had dinner. I was just basically telling him, I was like, hey man, first of all, take your hunter safety course, because he never did that either. He's 42 years old. So got him on that, taking his hunter safety course. He knows what gun he's going to use. So getting him on good gear, right? Making sure he's got good base layers, whatever camo he chooses. There's so many camos out there. But he had a lot of questions he was just nervous about, like what do I do when I shoot one? Do I gut it? How do you pack it out? And so I just sat down and we talked about that. Like there's so many scenarios when it comes to hunting. What do you do if you do a bad shot? What if you miss? What if you injure? What if it's track? And so, having that conversation is the first step of just sitting down, talking. And it's that reassurance that I think gives them more confidence to go out and actually go do stuff. Because like I said, I didn't have many people and I didn't know to ask those questions until later on in life. It was always just my way or the highway. You go sit here, don't move until something walks out, and then you shoot it. And then they handle it. And it's just like, okay. It wasn't until college where I would shoot it and they're like, That's your deer, man. Clean it. What? Oh, okay. Never done this before. So asking those questions and knowing that and knowing where to go and go for resources. So we sat down. He didn't know he could go hunt hogs. He didn't know he could hunt national forests. Like, he had no clue. He's like, I don't have any land. I don't know what to do. I was like, well, dude, you pay for millions of acres in tax money. You've got access to all these public places. Let's sit down. I'll go with you where places you can hunt, places you need a permit. So having that conversation about that, where we could go, I assured him I'd go with him on his first one. Got to get him dialed in, and it just sent him a bunch of resource information. You know, what to do with the deer when you gut it. You know, he got nervous. He's like, what if I pack in a mile in? What I do? I was like, well, you pack it out with your backpack. How do you do that? Well, you get game bags and you stuff. It's wild. But for new hunters and those wanting to get into it, is finding that, like, it's not bad to have a mentor, no matter how old you are. Finding somebody and getting with a group of people. Like BHA, when I first moved up here away from my friend set, and I was already a BHA member, but I started seeing them doing stuff in cleanups, pint nights. So I just started showing up and seeing who these guys were, because I didn't know anywhere to hunt up here. I had no clue, because I'd always hunt private and public down there in Little Rock or Central Arkansas. So when I moved up here, I was like, man, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so getting with them, hanging out with a like-minded group of people that encourage you to go different places and want to go with you, that was like, and then asking the questions of like, hey man, where's some areas you want to go? Well, put in this permit with us. We're all going to be at this location on this gun season. All right, cool, I'll do that. You go out there, and like I said, it's like watching somebody skin a deer. There's 5 different ways to do it, 10 different ways to do it. Well, these guys all come from different backgrounds of hunting, and I'm watching them go different ways and do different things. I'm like, this is awesome. You're around people. So find that friend group, have that conversation, find that mentor, and just get out there and put your boots on the ground, because you can't kill them from the couch. You can't kill them from the internet either. So you got to get out there and quit watching YouTube. And it does have answers, but get out there and put your knife on that, gut that deer yourself, and you realize, okay, this is what it's like. You can always watch it from a camera, but once you do it yourself, you're like, okay, this is how you do it. And I carry gloves and water bottles and everything like that to wash my hands afterward, because you always find out different things on why you're field dressing the deer. But I'm totally getting off the subject. But like I said, with that new hunter, is just making sure they're educated, letting them know that guidebook. You don't want to steer them wrong. Have them out there, have that friend group, mentor, and lead them in the right direction. And be patient, because they don't know what the hell's going on. Man, that's a great question. I want to sit here and say, I hunt because I'm providing food for the family. Well, you know what? I also hit Taco Bell at 2:00 in the morning sometimes too. It's not. I'm not eating strictly wild game. Why do I hunt, man? For me, it does become. It's my recharge. It is my disconnect from society. And like I said, I work in a barber's shop where every 30 minutes the conversation's changing according to what client I have. And I'm constantly talking, I'm constantly making connections, I'm constantly communicating with not only my client, but the people that are in the barber shop, the people that are here. And I love that. I feed off that energy. I really do feed off that energy. But man, when I get to go out into the woods and watch them wake up or watch them go to sleep, and I sit out there sometimes by myself, alone in my thoughts, it is the most, I'm not going to say spiritual. It does have a spiritual moving, like it moves me in a certain way that I can't explain. And it makes me think that there's something higher that is like making that feeling happen. But it recharges my thought process, my energy levels. Like I disconnect from the busy world and focus on one thing. And that to me is worth its weight in gold, because it's so hard in today's society. Everybody can get a hold of you. I can get a hold of the outside world in a heartbeat when I go out in the woods, because I got a phone. I like to put that sucker on airplane mode or turn it off. But being able to disconnect, especially in places where you don't get service, and sit out there and watch what nature truly can be and what it is. And then coming back from that experience, I think it makes you appreciate it more. It makes you appreciate nature more, it makes you appreciate life more, and it helps you know that there's an escape. Because there are days where I get here and I'm so exhausted from standing all day, 10-hour days, standing all day talking, making sure everybody's happy, but then I get to go out there and sit. And I like coming back too from my hunting trip when some of my clients are like, I couldn't get a hold of you. And most of them are like, you're probably out in the woods, weren't you? I'm like, yeah, I was. And they know that, and they love that about me. And I get to come back and share those experiences with them. Because like I said, I'm constantly making connections, and you try to connect with the client on every level that you can. And for them to come back and, oh, you were out in the woods, weren't you? Yeah. Well, how was it? What'd you see? What'd you do? And I get to tell them certain stories or crazy things I saw, or people that I met, or that group that I got to go hunt with this weekend. It's those moments. So for me, it's being outdoors, being connected with nature, getting that recharge, getting that breath of fresh air, and coming back with a more positive attitude, coming back with a more appreciative aspect or outlook on, on life, and getting back from that week. There are moments where I go out and I have to do a turn and burn hunting week, where I go in on a Friday, hunt that morning, and then come back Saturday night because I got stuff to do. But even that 3 or 4 hours I'm out in the woods is better than no days out in the woods. And that is the thing that I'm like, I will hold those moments, and I will always hold those moments very special, because they're so quick to get in here and get busy with life in general. But allowing yourself to get out there and just take a step back and think of, it allows you to, you can be introspective, retrospective, you can look towards the future, and you're alone in your thoughts. And it's like some of the guys that wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, nobody's messing with them. They get their coffee, they get their emails done, they get the push-ups, whatever workout they want to do. Nobody's messing with them. And that's kind of how I view it. Nobody's messing with you. It's just you. You're out there, and it helps me just completely revamp my energy levels and come back. And yeah. Plus, the reward is awesome whenever you are successful in your harvest. You get to come back and share those adventures and that food. And for me, game meat obviously is a very, it's like crawfish. It's better eaten with your community, not just by yourself. So when I'm throwing out deer backstrap or I'm throwing out jerky, I like sharing that with people. So that's the thing, sharing those moments and recharging and revamping everything is why I like to hunt. Yeah, that's it.